Hi, I'm Tanya Williams, Chief of Everything at Digital Conversations, and we're down here at Digital Strategy Summit 2015. Now, I'm here with Jenny Williams. Now, Jenny is the Chief Marketing Officer for HCF. So, thanks for having a chat to us, Jenny.
Thank you.
So, you guys have obviously got a very big and very well-known brand in the health insurance space. What do you guys believe are the most important digital channels to really sort of engage with your audiences?
Well, digital plays a huge part in the consumer decision-making process around health insurance.
Yep.
I guess, I'm reasonably new in the job, and what I found coming into the role is that I came in as a consumer who had gone through the exercise of selecting health insurance and selecting HCF, but I had a lot of misperceptions about how it should work. Yep. And so I guess, and what I find when I talk to people is the same thing. There's a lot of confusion around health insurance.
Yes.
There's a total lack of consistency in the different products, which from the consumer perspective seems, overwhelming and confusing, which is why there appears to be a role for the aggregators.
Yeah.
And I guess what we see is that what that actually perpetuates is even more confusion.
Yeah.
Because the reality
so
of
much
it,
choice.
well, it feels like choice, but it also feels like there's so much detail below it, because the difference between the different products and the different providers comes down to, what is going to happen when you get sick and claim.
Yes.
And there are so many different ways that you could get sick and claim that, it's almost impossible for us to compare apples to apples, which is why, I think when I think about what the role of the digital channels is, obviously there's awareness and making sure that people know our brand, and in some markets that's an easier job than in others.
Yes.
For us, because we're, very strong in New South Wales, but in other states it varies. But I think there's absolutely the role of digital is about helping people navigate and understand the health environment and getting more empowered in terms of making those choices.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to understand who they should go with. And just like when they purchase a car, they go in and they try to, configure their colour and look at the various components, and, they're comparing, everything from what does the trim look like to, how's the engine work, and, all of those sorts of things. The reality of it is health insurance is that complicated as well.
Yeah.
And so the easier it is for people to understand what choices they're making, the better.
Yeah. Awesome. So how are you guys combining what you're doing with digital and from a traditional point of view as well? So you guys do, you mentioned you do a magazine, and obviously then you're doing some newsletters and those sorts of things. Like, how do you pull the two together?
Well, the traditional TV obviously translates these days into video channels.
Yes.
So the merger between digital and sort of above the line is a completely blurred line.
Yes.
When you realise that that's the way that
from one screen to another. Yeah.
Well, it's just another screen, and the reality of anyone that's watching TV is that they've probably got a mobile phone in their hand at the same time, and so looking at how we intelligently link those channels, in terms of what we perceive to be the opportunity and how we respond to it is important.
Yeah.
One of the areas we sponsor the Sydney Swans, which is a sort of traditional channel, so to speak, sponsorship. But we have the hashtag, for instance, HCF Go Swans, which is, a collaboration with the Swans, and it's about engaging people and supporting people and leveraging social channels at the same time. So that's another way where
you're trying to pull it through.
We're trying to pull it through and make sure that every time we've got a traditional non-digital channel, that there are digital enablement capabilities that intersect with it. Yeah.
And I think that's really important. So how has digital, do you think, brought you closer to your audiences, or has it?
Well, absolutely it does. the only challenge that we have in any of these, and we had a conversation about this in one of the pod sessions, was, there's that creepy line where you don't want to go over the edge. The reality of it is that once somebody is engaging digitally, unless they're actively deleting their cookies and so forth, we may not know everything about you, but we know how to target you. We know how to vary what we do and what we say to you, and retargeting and all of that sort of standard digital 101 in terms of the before stage.
Yep.
In the post-purchase stage, when they become a member, what we're hoping to start to leverage is that personalisation of information. So, and in many ways,
one-on-one to someone rather.
And leveraging what we know about you as part of our commercial relationship to streamline out the stuff that we think you're not interested in, so that you don't get a lot of noise and clutter, but to increasingly be more focused in the content that we may deliver to you.
Yeah, obviously data is going to be an important part of that, so finding the relevant data so you can have those personalised, relevant experiences with people. Yeah.
And in reality, the way that you build that, is you start with a segmentation which is not life stage or product specific, but psychographic and insights driven, and then you start to leverage that to deliver content, and then you see what works and what doesn't, and you build, you become smarter. So self learning is an important component of that.
So in terms of your background then, Jenny, so you mentioned that you've come from a very strong digital background, and that's probably an unusual place to come for a CMO. CMO role typically comes from a traditional marketing space, so obviously there's been a bit of strategy behind what the guys from HCF in terms of their thought processes, I suppose.
My background is digital.
Yep.
So I've run, I've run some of the largest digital agencies in Australia, and I've been digital since the beginning of the internet.
Yeah.
So it is actually kind of innovative that a traditional
so you've gone from
organisation
has heavily been digital focused to bring,
Well, that's why I think they have put me in the role.
Wow. So, and you mentioned before that you guys are growing your team and to bring in some new skill sets and to add to what you're doing as well. So it's obviously that you're very focused on that marketing piece and how that's delivered to the market and your audience.
Absolutely,
So really exciting times by the sounds of it for you guys.
It is.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking to us. It's great to get some insights into what HCF is doing as a brand. Obviously, you're a very strong brand.
Yeah.
And it's great to see you guys, taking on some of these challenges head on as well.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Jenny.
That's all right.